Good day. How is everyone this fine, September 25th, 2024. It is a Wednesday. And hello, Maria, CJ, Denise, and CW, and Greg. Pardon me, I'm going to stretch my lower back. I had one too many cookies last night. My kidneys are feeling it. I wonder if that's going to be in our discussion today about obedience. In any case, thank you for your suggestions, because Peter sent me one to have a private mass for the intentions of calming down the Middle East, trying to reign in Israel, and have them all, the Muslims as well as the Jews, come to the understanding of the Trinitarian Theophany. So I did do that last night, and it was good. It was very good, and so I thank him for the donation and the suggestion, and it was completed. And if any of you have a request such as that, feel free to contact me for that. We're going to continue with this obedience, which it's good. It's looking at it, of course, in a different way than I had expected, which is always good, because we think we see and understand something, and maybe from a different perspective or angle. We never thought of it that way. The whole website, ourladiesgod.com, is like that. So the very few who really get it and who are here every morning, I know you all will receive the grace of its insight. All right, so let's begin with good day rising prayers. And Sister Jeannie is back in the house as well. We had a crazy week, both of us being away. And yes, my son survived, for those who were wondering. In nomine Dei, Matronam Nostra, et Iesusum Christum, et in Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Trinitarian Theophany. In Catholic contemplation, humbly venerate the Divine Family. Most holy and venerable Trinitarian Theophany, one Divine Family, I believe that thou art here present. I venerate thee with the deepest humility. I render to thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to thee. O Trinitarian Theophany, relying on thine infinite goodness and promises, I hope to obtain the pardon of my sins, the help of thy grace, and life everlasting, through the merits of Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Matronam Nostrae. O Trinitarian Theophany, I love thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of thee, and I forgive all who have injured me, and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank the Trinitarian Theophany for the many graces that we receive, and offer ourselves and our sufferings up to heaven. O most holy Trinitarian Theophany, I most humbly thank thee for all the favors thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in thy service. I consecrate to thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, that there may be none that is not animated by thy love, or that would not tend to thy greater glory. us make a firm resolution to avoid evil and to do good, and let us beg of the Trinitarian Theophany the graces which are necessary to us. O most holy Trinitarian Theophany, thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of thy grace. Deny me not thy grace, proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which thou forbiddest, to practice the good which thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please thee to send me. O Dea Matronam Nostrae, I place myself under thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O most holy Trinitarian Theophany, Dea Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. I am heartily sorry for having offended thee, and I detest all my sins, because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell. But most of all, because they offend thee, O most holy Trinitarian Theophany, who are all good and deserving of all my love, I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. How obedience is the key with which heaven is opened, and how the soul should fasten it by means of a cord to her girdle, and of the excellences of obedience. Now that I have shown thee where obedience is to be found, and whence she comes, and who is her companion, and who her foster mother, I will continue to speak of the obedient and the disobedient together, and of obedience in general, which is the obedience of the precepts, and in particular, which is that of the counsels. The whole of your faith is founded upon obedience, for by it you prove your fidelity. You are all in general my truth, to obey the commandments of the law, the chief of which is to love me above everything and your neighbor as yourself. And the commandments of the church are so bound up together that you cannot observe or transgress one without observing or transgressing all. He who observes this principal commandment observes all the others. He is faithful to me and his neighbor, for he loves me and my creatures, and is therefore obedient, becoming subject to the commandments of the law, and to creatures for my sake. And with humble patience he endures every labor, and even his neighbor's detraction of him. I just want to mention natural law is also included in that law. This obedience is of such excellence that you all derive grace from it, just as from disobedience you all derive death. Wherefore it is not enough that it should be only in word and not practiced by you. I have already told you that this word is the key which opens heaven, which key my son placed in the hands of his vicar, St. Peter. This vicar placed it in the hands of everyone who receives holy, correct baptism, promising therein to renounce the world and all its pomps and delights, and to obey, so that each man has in his own person that very same key which the word had. And if a man does not unlock in the light of faith and with the hand of love the gate of heaven by means of this key, he never will enter there, in spite of its having been opened by the word. For though I created you without yourselves, I will not save you without yourselves. Wherefore you must take the key in your hand and walk by the doctrine of my word, and not remain seated. That is to say, placing your love in finite things, as do foolish men who follow the first man, their first father, following his example and casting the key of obedience into the mud of impurity, breaking it with the hammer of pride, rusting it with self-love. It would have been entirely destroyed had not my only begotten Son, Deum Iesum Christum, the Word, come and taken this key of obedience in his hands and purified it in the fire of divine love, having drawn it out of the mud, and cleansed it with his blood, and straightened it with the knife of justice, and hammered your iniquities into shape on the anvil of his own body. So perfectly did he repair it, that no matter how much a man may have spoilt his key by his free will, by his selfsame free will assisted by my grace, he can repair it, and with the same instruments that were used by my word. O blinder than the blind, for having spoilt the key of obedience, thou dost not think of mending it. Dost thou think, forsooth, that the disobedience which closed the door of heaven will open it? That the pride which fell can rise? Dost thou think to be admitted to the marriage feast in foul and disordered garments? Dost thou think that sitting down and blinding thyself with the chain of mortal sin thou canst walk? Or that without a key thou canst open the door? Do not imagine that thou canst, for it is a fantastical delusion. Thou must be firm. Thou must leave mortal sin by a holy confession, contrition of heart, satisfaction, and purpose of amendment. Then thou wilt throw off that hideous and defiled garment, and clothed in the shining nuptial robe will hasten the key of obedience in thy hand to open the door. But bind this key with the cord of self-contempt and hatred of thyself and of the world, and fasten it to the love of pleasing me, thy Creator, of which thou shouldest make a girdle to thyself, to bind thy loins with it, for fear thou lose it. No, my daughter, there are many who take up this key, having seen by the light of faith that in no other way can they escape eternal damnation, but they hold it in their hand without wearing this girdle, or fastening the key to it with the cord of self-contempt. That is to say that they are not perfectly clothed with my pleasure, but still seek to please themselves. They do not wear the cord of self-contempt, for they do not desire to be despised, but rather take delight in the praise of men. Such as these are apt to lose their key, for if they suffer a little extra fatigue or mental or corporal tribulation, and if, as often happens, the hand of holy desire loosens its grasp, they will lose it. They can indeed find it again if they wish to while they live, but if they do not wish, they will never find it, and what will prove to them that they have lost it? Impatience, for patience was united to obedience, and their impatience proves that obedience does not dwell in their soul. Oh, how sweet and glorious is this virtue, which contains all the rest, for she is conceived and born of charity. On her is founded the rock of the holy faith. She is a queen whose consort will feel no trouble, but only peace and quiet. The waves of the stormy sea cannot hurt her, nor can any tempest reach the interior of the soul in whom she dwells. Such a one feels no hatred when injured, because he wishes to obey the precept of forgiveness. He suffers not when his appetites are not satisfied, because obedience has ordered him to desire me alone, who can and will satisfy all his desires, if he strip himself of worldly riches. And so, in all things which would be too long to relate, he who has chosen as spouse Queen Obedience, the appointed key of heaven, finds peace and quiet. O blessed obedience, sanctified obedience, thou voyagest without fatigue and reachest without danger the port of salvation. Thou art conformed to my only begotten Son, Deum Iesum Christum, the Word. Thou boardest the ship of the Holy Cross, forcing thyself to endure, so as not to transgress the obedience of the Word, nor abandon his doctrine, of which thou makest a table, when thou eatest the food of souls, dwelling in the love of thy neighbor, being anointed with the true humility, which saves thee from coveting, contrary to my will, his possessions. Thou walkest erect, without bending, for thy heart is sincere and not false, loving generously and truly my creatures. Thou art a sunrise, drawing after thee the light of divine grace. Thou art a sun which makes the earth, that is to say, the organs of the soul, to germinate with the heat of charity, all of which, as well as those of the body, produce life-giving fruit for thyself and thy neighbor. Thou art even cheerful, for thy face is never wrinkled with impatience, but smooth and pleasant with the happiness of patience. And even in its fortitude thou art great by the long endurance, so long that it reaches from earth to heaven and unlocks the celestial door. Thou art a hidden pearl, trampled by the world, abasing thyself, submitting to all creatures. Yet thy kingdom is so great that no one can rule thee. For thou hast come out of the mortal servitude of thy own sensuality, which destroyed thy dignity, and having slain this enemy with hatred and dislike of thy own pleasure, hast reobtained thy liberty. That was a beautiful few paragraphs there. Tomorrow is here both the misery and the disobedient, and the excellence of the obedient are spoken of. Deum vobiscum et quoque apate. Oremus. O Trinitarian Theophany, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids the remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one Trinitarian Theophany, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum Hanc Immaculatum Hostium, quam ego indignus famulos tuus offeritibi Deum eum illum et verum, pro inumerabilibus peccatis et offensionibus et negligencies meis, et pro omnibus circumstantibus, serer pro omnibus fidelibus Catholicorum, vivis atque defunctis ut mihi et idis proficedat salutem. Deum qui humanae substantiae dignitatum mirabilitu contradicit mirabilis reformaster da nobis, piruis atque et unim mysterium, eis divinitatis esse consortes criminitatis nostrae, fiat idiotis est partecepste in Iesum Christum, qui tecum vivit et regnat in unitati Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Offerimus tibi Deum calicem saitaris tuum de peccatis clementiam, ut vetu divinae majestatis tuae, pro nostra totius mundi salute, cum adore suavitatis ascendat. In spiritu humilitatis et in animo contrito suscipiam rate Deum Iesum Christum, et sec fiat sacrificium nostrum ecus vetu tu hodie, uplacia tibi Deum matram nostrae et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Veni sanctificator, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, et sanctificite plata prosequendo, et ecce pere hoc sacrificium tuo sanctum nomini praeparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas Sancta Oblationum cum tibi efferimus amorum passionis, resurrectionis et discensionis Deum Iesum Christum, et in honorem Dei matronam nostrae, et Papa Pete Sanctorum et Istorum et Omnium Sanctorum, ut idis proficiat ad honorem nobis autem ad salutem, et idi pro nobis intercedere in interim caelis, coram amorem agimus in teris per innum Christum Deum nostrum. Orate, ut meam equestrum sacrificium acceptabile fiat ab Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. suscipiatem Iesum Christum, sacrificium de manibus tuis, et laudem et gloriam nomini sui, ad utilitatem quoque nostram totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum ubiscum et quoque apud te, sursum corda habemus ad Deum, gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum et justum est. Te igitur clementes me Mater et Pater et Deum Matram Nostrae, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, Pedem Iesum Christum Filium Tuum Deum Nostrae, supplicis rogamus ac pedimus, uti accepta habeas, et sanctificas haec sanctam sacrificium irribata, in primis quae tibi afferemus pro ecclesiam Tuum Sanctam Catholicam, quam pacificare, custodire, honorare, et regere dignitas tot orbe terrarum atquae Catholicae. Memento Deum familiarum concetuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We pray for Katie, Gage, Neil and Earl Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Mark Jr., Henry, Barbara, Benedict Santa Croce, Robert Santa Croce, Mr. Nobody, Anne Bultink, the Cantu and Duarte families, Michaela McLarnon and family, Jenna, Lori, Aaron and family, Maria and the Lineweber family, the Cahill, Kendrick, Dasco, Nye, Tafour, Wolf, Began, and Kane families and all their intentions. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the first Sede Vacantis, Catholic Council Office at Monastery of Illinois. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion, transgenderism, transhumanism, child trafficking, child abuse of any kind, anywhere, place, or time. Pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a sound Catholic system of labor, human value, medium exchange with no usury. For courageous men and leaders to step forward as to become leaders of this Catholic society. We ask that all quote-unquote gay marriage be banned, and a reversal of the feminist ideology and a return to godly femininity. That men and women come to understand the raising of traditional Catholic families is a very high ideal and a necessity for sustaining a Catholic society. That we remove all pornography and the OnlyFans platform from the internet and from any kind of publication immediately and forever. We ask that the medical industry focus not on drugs and pharmakia, but instead on parasite cleansing and true natural health means. We ask for the conversion of all sinners trapped in a state of mortal sins, especially the ignorant. We ask that we shut down all gateways and portals and electronic equipment that tries to create them. Shut down CERN, all particle accelerators. We ask to destroy the satanic document of Vatican law that is the Jewish Talmud, that you destroy Rome and the Vatican and recognize the transfer of the authority of the Catholic Church to Fatima, Portugal. We ask that you release the souls controlled by the demons Lilith and Asmodeus. Send those demons to the pits of hell. Please block the passage of any so-called pandemic treaty by the WHO. Continue blocking it and make those who belong to that group insignificant. Do not give them any energy. Please also destroy all forms of Freemasonry and its tentacles everywhere throughout the lands and the world, and bring the members into the submission of the Trinitarian Theophany through correct baptism and confession. All these things we ask in accordance with the Trinitarian Theophany's holy and divine will. Et omnium circumstantiam quorum tibi fides cognita est et nota deotio, pro quibus tibi afferrimus, vel qui tibi affront hoc sacrificium laudis, pro se suis omnibus, pro redemptione anamarum suarum, pro spe salutis et economitatis suae, tibi credem vota sua, aeterno Deum vivo et vero. communicantes et monem venerantes in primis gloriosae, semper Deum matram nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et beatorum martyrium tuorum Papae Sancta Petri, et Sancti Lucia, et Sancti Jacinta, et Sancti Francisco, et Sancti Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum, quorum meritis, praecibusque concedas ut in omnibus protectiones tuae, muniamur exilio, per indum Christum Deum nostrum, quam oblationem te Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibus, consecratem acceptabilem quae fecit dignidis ut nobis corpum, et sanguinem fiat didictissimi Filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum, qui pridie quam pateretur recepit panam nit sanctus ac venerabilis manus suas, et derivatis oculis in caelum ate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum suum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, in consecravit, frege didique lumnis sui dicens accipite et mandocate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est enim corpus meum. Simini modo postquam ceremonia est accipiens, et hunc praeclarum calicem in sanctus ac venerabilis manus suas, idem tibi gratias agens Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, consecrave didique lumnis sui dicens accipite et bibite ex eo omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis effundetur in remissione peccatorum. Haec quod est cum ficeritis in memum facetis. Unde et memores Deum nostrum virtui, sed plebs tua, sancta, justem Christum Filium tuum Deum nostrae, tam beate passiones nec non et in feris rejectiones, sed et in caelos gloriosae ascensiones afferimus, praeclarae maestati tuae de tuis donis ac datis, supra quae propitio ac sereno vultur respicieri digneris. Supplices te ragamus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, iuve hic preferibile manus tuum, ut quod, ex hoc autaris participationes sacrosanctum Deum Filium tuum, corpus et sanguinem subsedimus, omni benedictione caelesti et gratia Dei per amor per in Christum Deum nostrae. We pray for those who have died. We especially pray for Rachel Lee, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsis Deum et omnibum in Christum quiscentibum locum refugere lucis et pacis ut ondargi est per camera pedinum Christum Deum nostrum. Per quem hic omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bona creas, sanctificas, vivicas, consecratis et praestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso. Est tibi Deum matrum omnipotentium in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Dea, matronam nostrae, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum tecum. Dea, matronam nostrae, materam Deum Iesum Christum, misericordia nobis, peccatoribus nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos quae sumus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, ab omnibus malis, praetitis, praesentibus et futuris, et intercedente beata et gloriosa semper Dei matronam nostrae, cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis da propitius pacem in diebus nostris. Ut ope misericordiae tuae aduiti et peccato, simus semper liberi et ab omne perturbatione securi. Per indum Deum nostrum Iesum Christum filium tuum Deum nostrum, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam. Pax Deum, Iesum Christum, sit semper vobiscum, et quoque apud te. Haec mixtio et consecratio corporis et sanguis Deum Iesum Christum fiat ecipentibus nobis in ad salutem aeternam. Pax tecum, et quoque apud te. Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Deum matronam nostrae, cooperante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per mortem tuum vivificasti, liberam per hoc sacro sanctum corpus et sanguinem tuum ab omnibus iniquitatibus meis, et universis males, et facme tui semper in harare mandatis, et nunquam separari per mitas, qui cum meo dem Deum matronam nostrae, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum vivis reinam aeternam. Perceptio corporis tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego indinius sumere praesimo non mihi proveniat in judicium et condemnationem, sed pro tua pietate prosit mihi ad tutamentum mentis corporis et ad medelam percipiendam qui vivis serenas cum Deum matronam nostra in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Panem caelestem accipiem et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocabo. Deum matronam nostra non sum dignus, ut etius ut meis in tanti de quibus nabatranum mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sum dignus, ut etius ut meis in tanti de quibus nabatranum mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sum dignus, ut etius ut meis in tanti de quibus nabatranum mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Quidro tervum Deum Iesum Christum, pro omnibus quaedro tribuit mihi, calicem saitaris accipiem et nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum invocabo, laudans invocabo Deum matronam nostrae, et ab inimicis mei salvus erum. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima meam. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet animam tuum. Quod sumpsimus Deum Iesum Christum piedemente capiamus et immunum et tempora fiat nobis remedium sempiternam. Corpus suum Deum Iesum Christum quod somse sanguis quam potavi, et hariet uis geribus meis et praesta ut in me non remaniat, scelum macula quam purat sancta reficerunt sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apote, oremus. May the prayer of thy suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids, we beseech thee, O Trinitarian Theophany, that thou mayest free them from all sins and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one Trinitarian Theophany, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apote, ite mis est, Deum gratia. Placia tibi sancta Trinitam obsequium servitutis meae, et praesta ut sacrificium quod oculis tuae majestatis in autoritibus et ac tabulemique et omnibus, pro quibus irut octolis et miserante propitiae per Christum Deum nostrum. Sanctificat vos omnipotens Deum, Matronam et Filium et Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Matronam Nostra et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrem Spiritum Sanctum. Gratias. Most Holy Trinitarian Theophany, I believe, I venerate, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not venerate, do not hope, and do not love thee. Most Holy Trinitarian Theophany, I venerate thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Deum Iesum Christum, present here in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and immaculate heart of Dea Matronam Nostrae, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrem Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Thank you again for being here and for your commitment and your holy obedience. And please sanctify all those who you meet. And pray for the souls over in the Middle East, that there's a blanket that covers all the evil and just keeps it subdued, and really suggest cleansing the body, which will help alleviate a lot of blockages to holy obedience. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll continue on, see what else St. Catherine of Siena has to say. Have a great day.